We might be getting a cat soon.
I hope so. I really hope the cat makes an appearance. All right, guys. So I am here with Dropping Julia and their cat. Who is this? Can you tell us who this is?
This is my cat, Jolene.
Jolene?
Yeah, we're big Dolly Parton fans.
How did you guys get your start as a band? So where did it start?
So it started technically about a year and a half or 2 years ago, and we're in Charlottesville, and I was playing. I was trying to find, a backing band because I have a bunch of songs, and I was navigating the music scene, and it kind of started from that. We're a 5-piece band. Sean and I are two-fifths of the band, and he was the first member actually to join. He's the drummer. And we had a few other people in and out, and then now the 5 of us are, over the months it became solid, and and we started playing around Charlottesville and going, around Virginia and Maryland. We kind of kept it there for a while, and that's how we started, really.
What was the turning point where it all just kind of clicked and you were like, I think this is a thing. I think this is more than just a hobby. Like, this is a band.
I think what it was if we played 3 shows a month, each one of those shows had a revolving cast of musicians, and it was always like, this didn't work, or that worked, but it didn't work with this, and it was just a lot of trial and error. But then I think what it really came down to was we had like a string of like 3 shows in a row, and we had tried out one of our guitarists now, Alex, and it just seemed so seamless. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of like really got us, and sonically he was bringing just like a really cool, interesting tone to what we were already doing, and it just really melded really well. And then we just really kind of fast forwarded with that. That's kind of when it really hit for me.
I feel like it's that, everything he just said, plus the fact that he seemed dedicated to not just jamming and playing, but like actually learning the songs and making it like a part of him too. Right. I feel like that was the big deciding factor between people that we played with, which were fun, and then people that had became part of the band, was that they were like, oh, I jive with this and you jive with me, and okay, this is the thing. Like, it was both ways.
Yeah, it sounds like it was kind of organic. It kind of
totally. Super organic. Yeah. And it was such a relief when it finally did click in place, because we were playing all over, but with just whoever was free that weekend. And so it felt so much better to have someone that like showed up every week and was just like, oh yeah, I was humming this guitar part the other day, and I think you should try this instead. And you're like, oh crap.
Actually, it's funny, but all of the members of the band, besides Sean, the other 3 that had joined later, they all started learning the songs before they joined. And that's part of the reason why I was like, oh, okay, you're in the band.
Yeah. Our bassist, Sebastian, I play in a different band with him also, but one day I just saw that he had done like a cover of one of our songs, just a bass cover, and I was like, wow, that sounds really good. And he was like killing it, and that was before I even met him. Yeah. But then he started playing with both bands like maybe 2 weeks after that. And it was awesome. He just clicked really well.
Yeah, it sounds like ownership was like.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm curious about the dream that you guys had when you started the band. So when you started out and you were like, okay, like, we're gonna take this forward. What did that initial dream kind of look like? And
I think for years and years, I just had the basic dream of having a backing band for my songs. Like, that's how I envisioned them. I didn't realize it at first. I was writing all these songs on my acoustic guitar, and I really wanted to hear and materialize them in full band songs. And so when we started putting that all together, and it felt amazing to listen back to some of our early recordings and be like, oh, this is how I envisioned it. That was like the dream materializing for me. And so even just that basis was really wonderful. What about you?
For me, I'd been playing in bands on and off for like 10 or 12 years, and none of them of any note. And it was always, like, we practiced and we've had fun in practice, and everyone got along really well. And then we'd be like, all right, we got a gig in 3 months. And then that's the only thing we thought about for 3 months. And then we play the gig to our girlfriends and the bartenders. And I was just like, wow, that was embarrassing. And then that happened for like another 8 years. And so then when I started playing with Emily, it wasn't Dropping Julia yet. It was just, her name. and she had a backing band, and I just kind of had been rekindling, I guess, my like passion for playing music, because I pretty much stopped. I was playing every once in a while, but I wasn't really getting much out of it, and so my dream was to be in a band where like people would listen and want to listen, and like I didn't so much want to be in front of a huge crowd necessarily, but like I just want people to hear the music that I was playing and for them to be like, oh, I really enjoy this, or this isn't like hurting my ears, or why didn't we come out tonight? We should have just stayed home. And it felt like instead of like begging my friends to come, I would just post that we're playing somewhere and people would just show up. And that was that was when I realized, I guess, that the dream was kind of manifesting.
So has it been what you guys expected, or what is the actual day-to-day like now?
It has been a little of what I expected and a lot of not. It's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, but I at the same time don't really mind it because it's my project, it's my passion project, and I want to see it succeed so much that that all the work that I didn't realize was going to be there is not that big a deal. Normally, sometimes I get really overwhelmed because we both have full-time jobs too, so it's it's definitely a lot busier. I think that it's a lot less of a dream than I thought it was going to be, in the sense that when I was like, I'm 29 now, when I first started playing, and I was 24, 25, I first started playing like out and in musical projects. I thought that just because I had some recorded, or just because I loved my product so much, that everyone else was going to, and that it was just something that it was going to go somewhere just because, I cared so much about it and I was so happy to be making music. But I quickly realized that there's all these other components involved, like the marketing and like the website and the congruency between all your things, and so that it was one part of it that I had to mature up to.
I guess the dream is different than what I was expecting to, but also really cool and really kind of surreal. Like the other day, I was out doing yard work and I came back and checked my phone, and a friend that I hadn't talked to in years was like, "You're on NBC 29 right now. You're on the news," and friends will text me and be like, "I just heard your song on the radio. I love it." And that for me was never even something that I could conceive of, like for the dream aspect of it in the beginning. So now it's like we get to play cool gigs and we get to travel around, not the whole country, but parts of it. And we get to play in front of like decent sized crowds, people who like some of which like know our songs, and I'll see like our t-shirt around town, and that's like really cool. So for me, it is surreal and it is different than what I expected, but it's also so much more fulfilling, I guess, than I expected it to be too, because there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. Like she said, like there's a lot of research that we have to do when we're trying to reach out to venues to book at and sending them our music. Like, are we going to work at this bar? Is it a Grateful Dead cover bar, or should we play there? Or like there is a lot of guessing and there's a lot of studying and researching, but I think in all it's so much cooler than I expected it to be.
That's really cool. I think that sounds like a really good case scenario.
Yeah.
What would you guys say? So on the days when the dream doesn't quite look the way you think it's gonna look, what keeps you guys going? So what's your why? What's your motivation? What keeps you pursuing it?
I feel like, as corny as it might sound, just the innate feeling that this is like my calling. And that's probably what stops so many other bands and artists from not doing it anymore, is that, they maybe think they want to, and then somewhere along the line it's too hard and then they stop. But, we've played some crappy gigs and gotten a lot of rejection emails, and had some bad experiences with band members and all things that make me feel like maybe I should just hang it up and this is more trouble than it's worth. And, I have doubts about my own playing abilities and singing abilities and blah, blah, blah. But then when I get distressed and feel really down on myself or down on the industry, there's just something in me that wants to keep doing it. And then, we after all those feelings, and then I keep going, and then we play a gig with the band or write a new song with the band or make a new video, that I'm just like, oh my God, these people that I play with are amazing, and they're all so in it too and so dedicated, and we sound good together, I think, right now, and this feels really good. So that's another jolt that keeps me going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For me, first of all, I think that's a great question. Second, I think for me, it's when I do often feel down, especially when like there's an opening somewhere. There's gonna be 30, 40, 300, 400 bands trying to get on it. So when you don't get a gig that you really wanted, or some other band gets an opportunity that you were striving for, sometimes that does get me down. But then every time I even like for a second think about quitting music, I'm like, what would my identity be then? Mm-hmm. And if I'm not creating and performing, then I feel like it's such a waste of the 16 years of my life, like learning crafting an instrument. And I think it'd just be, I don't know who I would be if I just like had to give it up one day. And I think that's why it's really hard for a lot of musicians right now that mm-hmm. are finding it hard to find or use their voice, I guess. It's because a lot of people are having identity crisis. It's like, who am I if not a performer, and people just need to find a way to continue performing. We were actually talking about, we live right next to a hospital, and just thinking of things that we could do to make people's days a little bit brighter. Like, we're thinking about maybe going and just setting up acoustic and a cajon and just sitting near the hospital, they're not close enough to be too close to anyone, and just playing music for the nurses on their breaks and stuff, or people when they're coming in and out, and just trying to uplift. I think there's so many outlets for people to perform that they're just kind of ignoring right now, because maybe it's not their idea of what it means to be a performer. But I do really think that people should play on their porch and go outside, and if you play guitar and you got a voice, then use it and go outside, and your neighbors will either love it or hate it, and you'll find out really quick. But like, if it's in you to perform, just perform. I think that's the thing that keeps me going most when I'm feeling down, is like, what else would I be if not this?
I love that. It sounds like it's extremely personal for both of you.
Yeah.
And that's why it hurts so much when it isn't going right, but that's why it feels equally as amazing when it is going right.
Yeah, we were crushed when the tour fell through because of the coronavirus thing. It was just like, it was, the worst news I think I'd ever gotten. But it was like, when it wasn't like one day on a Monday you get like a letter saying everything's canceled. It was like gradually all these shows started dropping off, and all these venues started closing down. We were just like, what? No, this is what was keeping me going through the winter, was the promise of like doing this tour and releasing an album. But now we're doing live streams whenever possible, and just trying to stay sane. And I think if you have it in you, that performance bug in you, you just do it.
What is the next thing for you guys? So when you are kind of thinking about the dream and pursuing the dream, which is kind of a daily thing, what's on the horizon? How can we keep up with you? What's coming up? Music, events, all of it.
Events, kind of a question mark.
Events count too.
Yeah, we are releasing an album, and we're really, really excited about it. We've put so much energy and time into it. We recorded it in December and January, and we planned to release it end of May. We were going to have a show at the Southern in Charlottesville, but it looks like we might have to hold off on that. But we haven't fully discussed it yet. We'll if the quarantine happens longer than May, we'll probably end up releasing it online anyway, and then hopefully having a big show once society's back to normal again. But that's a huge thing for us, because we have one album under our belt, and it was a very early primitive album, just kind of a compilation of whatever we had that was semi-decent at the time. And this one we really put a lot of work into, so we're excited about it. We have a lot of guest musicians on it that are good friends of ours, or a few, two I think. But so that's a big thing. And then beyond that, I mean, we had plans to do a lot of touring this summer and spring and fall, so we'll hopefully be able to get on that once we can again.
Hmm.
Anything else to add there?
Yeah, I mean, we have I don't know when this will air, but we have a single coming out next Friday off the album called In the Clear. It's my personal favorite from the album, and it's the one that I think it's really hard for musicians a lot of time it's like cliched, but to put their music in a genre or in like a box. But I feel like this song is like the one song that I can put out there. Like, what do you guys sound like? This is the one we sound like. It like this perfectly encompasses like who we are as a band. It's like it's upbeat, it's fun, it's energetic. It's got killer bass line in it. It's super funky. The whole band does a lot of unison stops, and it's just like really. It's a really fun song to listen to and headbang in the car while we're driving. And I think people are going to like it a lot. But that's coming out next Friday, and then we have another release after that, another single releasing the week after that. And then, like she said, May for our album. So that's what's keeping us going right now. We're doing a lot of submitting to Spotify playlists, and hopefully we'll get on some of those. If not, we're just going to hope our friends and fans and family share it as much as possible.
You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for telling us all about your dreams.
Yay! Thank you for listening.
Bye, guys.